Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the weekend walkthrough, where I take a look at what happened in this weekend's Premier League matches from a fantasy Premier League perspective. And we're in the middle of Game Week 37, which is a double game week for several teams, 4 teams in fact. And so those teams still have to play one more match. And we also have one match left on Monday, which is Newcastle against Leicester, which could be really vital for both top 4, potentially not, because it looks like Newcastle are going to secure top 4 anyway, and potentially the relegation battle as well. If Leicester lose this game, they are in a pretty bad position in terms of keeping their place, because they would be 3 points behind Everton, who are safe for now, at least. But we'll get to those teams later. We'll start off with the first match, which was Spurs against Brentford. And we had one thing that happened that is very common, and that is Harry Kane scoring. He scored the opening goal for Spurs. Really nice goal again. He just keeps scoring every single time. And he now, in fact, has his best fantasy Premier League score of all time, and there's still one more game to go. So hats off to Harry Kane. If not for Haaland, many people have made this point, but if not for Haaland, so many people would praise Kane for being such a fantastic striker. And he truly has been. Like, he's played for a really bad Tottenham team, and he's had his best season yet almost. So hats off to Kane. Probably deserves to go to a bigger club, but again, he scored, but again, it wasn't enough for Spurs because they keep losing. And also hats off to Brentford, who were really good and turned it around. They won 3-1 in the end, with 2 goals from Mbeumo and a nice assist from Johan Wissa as well. And they secured the 3 points. And if you've been paying attention to my posts on social media this past week, you can see that I commented on, if you saw FPL Raptor, one of the best content creators out there for Fantasy Premier League content, he had the famous artist Stormzy on to talk about FPL, and he sought advice for Stormzy what he was going to do with his team, and I saw that he had enough money in the bank to go from Greenwood to Mbeumo, so I actually wrote in the comment section that I think he should go with Greenwood, selling Greenwood from Leeds, who was like 4.0, and buy Mbeumo, because I noticed that Mbeumo has been amazing for Brentford. Pretty much every time Tony doesn't play, Mbeumo takes the central role as like the main guy for Brentford, and he keeps delivering. So he had 27 points in the 3 matches before this one, and now he followed that up with, I think it's a 16-pointer with 2 goals, 1 assist, and 3 bonus. So fantastic from Mbeumo. I wish I'd followed my own advice, because I could have brought him in myself. I went with Mahrez instead, went with another City player that keeps punishing me, but either way, a great game week for Mbeumo, even with his only playing 1 game. He scored and did really well, and helped Brentford get 3 points as well, which is great for them. Another great season for them. So yeah, as you can see, that's why the notes are big free boots. I think Mbeumo, he on his best, he's so good. Like he's better than Brentford, but he's so inconsistent, and especially with Tony on the pitch, he hasn't really hit the same highs that he has done with Tony off the pitch. And now we know for next season, Tony's going to be out for the whole first part of the season. I think he'll be back in like game week 22 or something for next season. So for the first 20 game weeks, I think Mbeumo is going to be fantastic value, depending on the price, of course. But I think he's going to be amazing for Brentford. He's going to be who they have to rely on. And Johan Wissa, for that matter, he might be another great option, because he keeps playing in Mbeumo's position while Mbeumo takes the striker role whenever Tony is out. So both those guys, I had Wissa as like one of my favorite players to watch last season or before this season. And I think next season, especially with Tony out, I think Wissa could be fantastic value as a midfielder. So yeah, keep your eyes on those guys. As for Spurs, it's pretty much Kane and no one else. Kane has just been amazing, and the rest, not so much. Kane wasn't even in the top 3 for non-penalty expected goals, so yeah, he just finds ways to score every time. Moving on to the next game, it is Bournemouth against Man United, and it's actually 2 teams that, like, Man United still have stuff to play for. That's why they were such a popular destination for Fantasy Premier League managers in terms of bringing in players. That's why I brought in Bruno Fernandes myself, but a lot of us that brought in Fernandes had to see the wrong midfielder, if you could say that, the wrong midfielder score, and that was Casemiro, who made a really nice run after like a set piece. The ball went back to Christian Eriksen, and Casemiro did a really good run. Bournemouth didn't manage to clear it, and Casemiro with a fantastic acrobatic finish. He's Brazilian, so he knows a thing or two about acrobatic finishes, but really great finish from Casemiro, and that turned out to be the only goal in the match. So 1-0 for Man United. Bruno Fernandes, as you can see, yet another game where he had better expected numbers than what his actual output was. He had a really nice volley, really well executed volley actually from outside the box, but a good save from Bournemouth's goalkeeper Neto kept Fernandes away from scoring. So ended up being only 1 goal. Again, Luke Shaw with the 3 bonus points. He is amazing when he plays as left back for FPL. Another 9-pointer for him. Great from him. Clean sheet for De Gea. Made some huge saves, including one big chance from Kiefer Moore, who missed point blank range. He could have really scored. Also, just want to mention for Bournemouth, obviously David Brooks made his return a couple months ago now, I think, or at least a couple weeks ago. He made his return for Bournemouth, but in this game, the last home game of the season, he actually got his first start of the season, which is really nice to see for an old FPL differential kind of guy. Brooks was always the third wheel next to Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser back when Bournemouth were managed by Eddie Howe. And I think David Brooks might be another good option for next season. I think Bournemouth has some really interesting players. It's going to be interesting to see what they do next season, if they can follow up this or if they get the second season syndrome. But fantastic season from them, and they narrowly lose to Man United, which isn't the worst. Next game, we have Fulham against Crystal Palace, 2 teams that sort of ended up in the same position on the table, but had completely different ways of getting there, because Fulham were really good at the start of the season. They were actually challenging for European spots, but then with the suspension of Mitrovic, they sort of struggled, and now that Mitrovic is back, he keeps scoring, and that's why I've written Mitrovic ultimate differential, because not that many people have brought him in for FPL, and that's when he's at his best. He is one of the most known FPL trolls, and when he's highly owned and everyone relies on him, he keeps failing. But when no one has him, when very few people have him, he is amazing. He just keeps scoring, and he's such a great striker. He's scored a really well taken penalty, and then he had a really nice header as well. He had a huge chance right before his second goal as well. So Mitrovic is amazing. He really was a differential pick last week. I mentioned him in one of my comments on one of my videos last week, that he's a really good differential for the end of the season, and he's proven to be just that. He's been scoring left and right lately, so he's been amazing and scored twice for Fulham. When it comes to Crystal Palace, we have yet another fantastic involvement from Eberechi Eze. He set up the first goal for Edouard really beautifully. He dribbled past the player and passed the ball through to Edouard at the exact correct time. So fantastic pass from Eze, and Edouard with a sublime finish to be fair as well. He has not showed his full potential for Fulham, but I think he could be a really good player for them. So yeah, Eze amazing again. Edouard, great finish. Second goal was scored by Joel Ward, who had 2 shots to get the goal as well. He missed a pretty big chance, and then he scored on a pretty big chance on the second one, and that's why he has such a high expected goal number. So this is where the expected goal stat is kind of flawed, because it says 0.91, but he could have only scored 1 goal from that one chance that he had, really, the one double chance that he had. So yeah, he maximized his output. He got 1 goal from 0.91 XG, which is, I think both shots were 0.5 XG. Maybe the second shot was a bit higher. I haven't checked, but either way, good match, 2-2, fun match, but really inconsequential when it comes to the table. But for Fantasy Premier League purposes, really interesting to see both Mitrovic and Eze, who are really good differential picks for the final game week of the season. Then we move on to the next set of fixtures, and we have Liverpool against Aston Villa. Liverpool really needed to win to have a chance to get into the top 4. I mean, they should have won to get a chance to get into the top 4, but Aston Villa have proven to be a tough side to beat, and they were once again. And I just got to highlight Jacob Ramsey once again, because he scores, and towards the end of the season, he has been scoring a lot of goals and looked really dangerous. But he did that last season as well, towards the end of last season, and I thought he was going to kick on and be a really good player this season, but he really didn't. But now it seems like it's for real. It seems like Jacob Ramsey is ready to take that next step up, and I think he is one of those players that you should really have a look at for preseason next season. I think he's going to be really interesting to watch. Should also be noted Aston Villa, their most prized FPL asset this season, Ollie Watkins. He actually got a penalty finally. He had a really good run of fixtures, or a really good run of scores in FPL for 10, 11, 12 game weeks or something. But lately he has been blanking left and right. But during that good run of scores in FPL, he really didn't get that many penalties. But that might have been a blessing in disguise, because as he showed today, or not today, but as he showed in the match against Liverpool, he got the chance from the spot and he shot it wide off the mark. So missed the penalty. Not the best return for Watkins, who has 1 assist, I think, in the last 4 matches. That's it. So people that sold him a couple game weeks ago, they sold him at the right time, because he was amazing for a while, but now he's fallen off completely when it comes to FPL. When it comes to Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold again, I think the XG is sort of not giving him the full credit, because he had a really nice shot that could have gone in, but he just went straight on to netto, but it was a really good shooting position, especially for someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold, who ended up with just the 1 point. I think he got a yellow card, but he once again showed why he's a premier FPL asset, and that's why he's worth like 7.8, I think, now. So it's going to be interesting to see his price for next season. It should also be mentioned, this was the final game at Anfield for Bobby Firmino, Roberto Firmino, who's been amazing for Liverpool. He's been such a huge part, an underrated part of like the whole Klopp dynasty. And to be fair, I think also that the Liverpool dynasty in general, the Klopp-Liverpool side, severely underrated when it comes to like speaking of the best Premier League teams of all time. Personally, I think this current Man City squad, or this current Man City team, even for the last 2 or 3 seasons, is the best Premier League side of all time. And Liverpool have been right there, right behind them, really close, and gotten so many points. I think they've accumulated more points than any other team apart from Man City in the history of the Premier League for like the 3 or 4 seasons that they've been near the top or at the top when they won the league. So yeah, and another one of those guys who should never be understated how good he is, that is Mohamed Salah. He put the cross in for Firmino. Firmino got to score like a typical Firmino goal, like a weird finish inside the box from a really nice Salah pass. So well done from Liverpool. Should also be noted Konate, who I mentioned as like a differential shout a couple game weeks ago. He was in my weekly wildcard draft squad. He got really close to scoring, and then the ball went back to Cody Gakpo, who again looked really good. And he scored, but the goal was disallowed for an offside for Van Dijk. And it's one of those decisions that I don't really like when it comes to VAR or the offside rule in general. So there's a cross towards, I can't remember, it was Curtis Jones, I think. Curtis Jones tries to header it into the box, and behind him you have Van Dijk, who's offside, obviously, when Curtis Jones headers it. But Curtis Jones never looks at Van Dijk and headers it like the complete opposite way of where Van Dijk is standing. But it hits a defender and then goes back to Van Dijk, and then Van Dijk is deemed to be offside. But sometimes they say that the defender did like a purposeful touch on the ball, so that's why it's a new situation, and Van Dijk is not in the situation, and that's why it's not offside. But sometimes they call it offside, so it's really inconsistent. So I don't really like that rule. I feel like when the ball goes a completely opposite direction, it should not be offside. But those are the offside rules, I guess. So that's something you can discuss in the off season, I guess. But for now, we're going to talk about FPL, and we're going to move on to the next match, which is another 1-1 game, including one of the Merseyside teams, Everton. And Yerry Mina was in my weekly wildcard draft this past week in the team that I think is the best going forward in FPL. And he proved his worth, really, because they did concede against Hwang Hye-chan. A nice goal from where Adama Traore did a really good job forcing the save from Pickford. And once again, I think one of the weaknesses for Pickford is that he keeps pushing the ball onto the other attacker's feet. Because I saw that last game as well, I think, for Everton. Like when he parries the ball, he parries it straight into the opposition's player. So that happened again and went to Hwang Hye-chan, Handsome Hwang as they call him, who scored the 1-0 goal for Wolves, which was really against the run of play, because Everton had some huge chances, including a major heading chance for Yerry Mina on one of the many great set pieces from Everton. Like, they are such a good set piece side now under Sean Dyche. Constant danger. But Yerry Mina finally got his goal towards the end of the match. I think it was 8 minutes into injury time. He scores after Wolves struggle to clear the ball. Secures a hugely important point for Everton, which might be the difference from Everton going down or staying up. But yeah, I think Yerry Mina, he's been injured most of the season. He is kind of an injury-prone player, but I think when he's healthy and fit to play, I think he's a great Fantasy Premier League option. And he scored, he got bonus points. I think he ended up with 10 points in total. And now he has a really good home game in the next game week as well. So I think he is a really good shout for a differential defender. If you need a defensive player, or if you have 2 transfers and you need to downgrade one of your defenders or something, I think Yerry Mina is a great option. And I just got to talk a little bit about Wolverhampton, because they've been such an anonymous team this whole season. Like, they've never really been in danger. They've never really been close to Europa League spots. They've sort of just been there. So I guess like they've been adjusting under Julian Lopetegui as their manager. And there's just so many players in the squad as well, like names that we have known from, like, especially if you play Football Manager and stuff, like Sarabia, you have Adama Traore, you have Pedro Neto, you have so many like talents. Neves as well was such a huge talent back in the day. Like, they've had so many players. Cunha as well, Mateus Cunha. Like, they have so many. Mateus Nunes as well. Like, they have so many really interesting players, but somehow they are the most boring team in the league. I don't know how that happened, but I think that's interesting for next season. If Lopetegui can keep building what he's built so far, they have so much talent in the squad as well. Adama Traore, like I said, Podence as well. Like they have so many fun players, so they should really be like one of the most interesting teams to watch. But they have been like the opposite. They've been like the most boring team in the league so far. But anyways, that's just my 2 cents on Wolverhampton. They need to do some big changes as well. Like they've gone away from Connor Cody. Previously, Willy Boley's gone out. Now they even had Jose Sa on the bench the last two, or Jose Sa on the bench the last two game weeks as well, with Bentley not doing the best in this Everton game, but last game he was really good against Man United. So yeah, Wolverhampton sort of awkward season, but I think they might be one of the overlooked teams for next season. So I'm definitely going to pay attention to their players, but probably not Pedro Neto, who burned me at the start of the season. But I still love Pedro Neto, though. He's such a great player. But yeah, they have so many wonder kids that never really panned out, which is really interesting. So I think Wolverhampton is a really interesting team. But yeah, that's for next season. Moving on, we have also another kind of interesting game in terms of XG. It wasn't the most interesting. It was really boring, actually, in terms of chances created. And that's because Arsenal were so bad. And especially, I know he's the standout player. The standout player is usually like someone good, but Gabriel Jesus has not been that good since he came back from injury. Like, he has not been the same at all. And I think that's an understated part of why Arsenal have been so bad lately. Like, with Nketiah up front, or with Martinelli/Trossard up front, they were still really good, but with Gabriel Jesus lately in the up front, they have not been that good. And Jesus, especially in this game, he slid when he had a big chance. He passed the ball away on his own half when Arsenal were trying to get the equalizer at the end of the game. He just didn't look that good at all. And I think also people have pointed out that he's sort of a weak spot. Like, he, even at the start of the season when he was really good, like played really well, he kept missing big chances. Like, he's not... I don't feel like he's like a title-winning striker personally. I think he's a good striker. I like him. I had him for most of the start of the season. That's partly why my rank is worse than I think it should be. But yeah, I just don't know about Jesus. But obviously they have Nketiah who's decent. They have Balogun who's decent. They have a lot of like good strikers, but they don't have like that main super good striker that I feel like they might need. So Jesus, kind of thumbs down from him. But speaking of strikers, we have a really good striker for Nottingham Forest, and that is Taiwo Awoniyi, who's been... I had pretty high hopes for him before the season, but then he struggled. He struggled with injuries. He struggled with this whole Forest squad. They've kept rotating like who's playing. They have so many new players to fit in. So it never really was the best fit for anyone, really, the Awoniyi Nottingham Forest connection. But now, towards the end of the season, Awoniyi has really showed what he can do. And once again, he scored. And once again, is from a Morgan Gibbs-White assist. Morgan Gibbs-White is so good. He almost scored towards the end of the match as well. I think he is amazing. I think he's clearly the best player for Nottingham Forest, even better than Brennan Johnson, I think, Gibbs-White. But yeah, great connection between him and Awoniyi, and I think that could serve Nottingham Forest well next season when they need to push on and not have the second season syndrome and go down. So yeah, those guys are really interesting to watch. I think also the standout player is Felipe, he wasn't the best at Atletico Madrid at all. Like he was sort of like a weak link there, but he's really gotten a boost since he came to the Premier League. The league might fit him better, or he might be more comfortable with Nottingham Forest, because I've done these weekend walkthroughs for a while now, and he keeps popping up as one of the top 3 expected goal number players. And he had a goal disallowed last game week, and this game week he had a really big chance as well, and he keeps being in these really good positions in terms of scoring goals. And Forest also kept a clean sheet at home. They were pretty good defensively at the start of the season, so I think Felipe as well is another interesting player to watch for next season. I think Nottingham Forest have a lot of interesting players. They just need to fit every piece together and be a more consistent team for next season. But they stay in the Premier League. They won, beat Arsenal, and that secured their place. Congratulations to Nottingham Forest. It was really weird season for them, but I think it's going to be exciting next season for Nottingham Forest now that they actually have their main squad now that they're going to have next season. I don't think they're going to do wholesale changes and do like 11 more signings next season. I think they sort of have the Premier League squad that they wanted. Maybe a couple signings here and there, but moving on to the next few games, the last 3 games from Sunday. We start off with West Ham, my personal favorite team, and so happy to see how well they played lately. Like, they've been so good lately, and a lot of that is due to Paqueta finally showing why he was brought in for the big bucks to West Ham. Like, he was so good in this game. He definitely should have passed, or he should have shot it himself towards the end. He could have scored 4-1, Paqueta, but he's been a beast. Like, he's been so good with the ball in his feet. He keeps doing weird decisions still, but they are getting far and few between nowadays. But Paqueta just has so many skills. Like he's the key for West Ham next season when they're going to have to play without Declan Rice, who's been, again, the hammer of the air. Again, fantastic player. And again, he scored as well. I think I haven't checked now, but I think he's pretty close to the highest scoring defensive mid in the league now, because he's proven that he can score goals as well, and especially also in Europe and stuff as well. He's been so good. He's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about Declan Rice, but Paqueta, I think, is the key for West Ham without Declan Rice to be a good team next season as well. I think West Ham have a lot more than they've shown in the Premier League this season in their team. So yeah, Jared Bowen as well got a goal. He got 3 bonus. Really well done for anyone that has Jared Bowen. He looked a lot better this game as well, and Danny Ings got his chance and took it too. Nice pass for Bowen on the 2-1 goal. And yeah, just a really well played match from West Ham against their former manager, Big Sam Allardyce, who I've written bye-bye Big Sam, and I really hope that's the case, because I'm not a huge fan of his from before. And yeah, I think they should go down. I think Leeds deserve to go down. They haven't been the best team this season, but they have a lot of fun players, but none of them really stood out against West Ham. They really struggled, didn't really create that much at all. And yeah, it's looking like they go down now. Then we have the next game. Brighton are definitely not going down, but Southampton are. Southampton are already relegated, and once again, it was proven that they don't have the squad to stay up in the Premier League. And especially, just the one gripe I have, especially now with Southampton, now that they are already down, and once again they kept Alex McCarthy in goal. Like I get it, when they tried to secure their place in the league, they played the experienced McCarthy over Basunu, who's been a huge disappointment, to be fair. But Basunu is such a young goalkeeper. Like, I don't know why, when they're already relegated, that they don't use their youthful, potentially good goalkeeper. Like, he's young, he's going to make mistakes. So yeah, he hasn't been the best this season, but he came from City, and he has a lot of talent. So I don't understand why Alex McCarthy got to play now when they're already down. But it also proved to be fatal for Southampton, because McCarthy did really poorly on the first goal from Ferguson. Really nice strike from Ferguson though, but it went straight at McCarthy and he just let it past him. So yeah, McCarthy as well passed it straight to Mitoma, who really should have scored. So there's a lot of stuff in regards to McCarthy that was bad, but also something that was good from Brighton is the players that scored from it, and that was Ferguson with 2 goals. He looks so good. I've written Evan Kane Ferguson, because I think he has like that sort of ish potential. Like he just looks like such a good player. Like he has everything that it takes to be a top striker in the league, and I think next season is going to be his season in Fantasy Premier League. I know they are bringing in Joao Pedro, and I know they have Welbeck already and Undav and all these guys, but Ferguson is the real deal, and he's going to be the main striker for them next season. So I'm going to be really interested to see his price, because I think he's going to be one of the best picks in Fantasy Premier League next season, when Brighton players in general will be more expensive. And that includes Kaoru Mitoma, who really should have scored. Like I said, McCarthy passed the ball away, tried to pass it to Lianco, I think, and it went straight to Mitoma, who got clear through on goal, just had to put it past McCarthy and into the goal, but then he hit the post and out. So really unlucky for Mitoma owners. He has not been paying dividends the last few game weeks after a good run right before that. And yeah, he's such a good player still, but he just keeps underperforming now his expected goal numbers, which is completely opposite of what he did when he was really good. Because that's back when he scored every game week, he actually didn't have the best expected numbers, but he kept scoring. So now it's sort of reversed. Like, he gets good expected goal numbers, but doesn't get FPL returns from it. So sad from him. But he still got an assist, a really nice pass to Ferguson's second goal, and then Gross scored the final goal for Brighton as well. But they couldn't keep a clean sheet for any Steele or Estepinian owners. They had to see Brighton concede again. Estepinian was once again really good. He had a really good chance taken away from him from Enciso, just taking the ball before it went to Estepinian, who would have been in a great position to score. But Estepinian was great again, but he didn't get a clean sheet because Southampton scored from a set piece. Ward-Prowse, of course, with a beautiful corner, and Mohamed El-Younousi, my fellow Norwegian, just headed it into goal. So no clean sheet for Brighton, but still a great result for them. They're going to be going to the Europa League now, I think, next season. So well done to Brighton, who keeps finding new players that are really good. It's going to be really fun to watch Brighton next season under De Zerbi. A really fun team to watch this whole season. Finally, we have Man City, the champions. We're going to end with them, and they beat a hapless Chelsea team, and this game just proved how far of a gap there is between Chelsea and Man City now, and how far of a gap there is when it comes to spending money wisely, like City have done, and spending money stupidly like Chelsea, because Chelsea has spent almost £600 million. And as you can see from the top expected goal performers, it is Conor Gallagher and Lewis Hall from their own academy. Like they paid so much money for so many players, and I still don't know what they have to show for it. Like even the players that they brought in previously, like Havertz and stuff as well, they brought in those guys for loads of money as well, and they haven't produced. So Chelsea just have spent a lot of money and they don't have much to show for it. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Chelsea do next season, what they do with Pochettino. I think he might unlock a lot of stuff in Chelsea, because obviously they have a lot of talent in the squad, just haven't really shown it at all. But Man City is the total opposite, even with their like B string or C string team. They won the match. They beat Chelsea. Like it was a pretty even match, but Alvarez proved to be the difference. He's been such an amazing striker. It's crazy that he only has like 9 or 10 starts this season. When he's such a good striker, he would have started for pretty much every team in the league. There's so many teams that need strikers in European football, like PSG, Bayern Munich, Chelsea need a striker, Man United need a striker. There's so many teams that need strikers, and here City are with Haaland as their main striker, the best striker in the world, and then they have Alvarez, like another one of the best strikers in the world, as his backup. And of course he scored. Of course he got the chance to play and scored. After City had secured the title, they decided to put on a really not weak side, because they have such a good squad of players. Like Cole Palmer as well was another standout, but they played like more of their youngsters, more of the players that haven't played that much, like Calvin Phillips and stuff, and they still beat Chelsea. And Alvarez was still a great player for them. Riyad Mahrez, big disappointment for me, who brought him in. Didn't really do much. He looked like he was on the beach already. So yeah, but Alvarez looked good. Foden looked good as well. Had some really nice chances. Had a chip that almost went in as well, Foden. So well done to Man City. When it comes to Chelsea, really not that much to talk about. Sterling had the biggest chance. He was through on goal, but a really good save from Ortega. Actually, the standout player should have been Ortega. That's actually another point that I was going to make. Ortega got the chance in goal rather than Ederson, and for the second time this season, he kept a clean sheet, and he made 6 saves as well. So Ederson has had kind of a poor season, and Ortega has been amazing. So I don't know, is Ortega like the best goalkeeper out of the two? I don't know. It might be a hot take for now, but yeah, I was really impressed by Ortega, and I haven't really been that impressed by Ederson. So that's going to be interesting for next season if Guardiola swaps his goalkeeper all of a sudden. Imagine like a couple games in, like 10 games in, he decides to make Ortega his starting goalkeeper, and he's like 4.0 or 4.5 priced. I think he should be like 5.0 priced next season, but we'll get to price predictions later. But that is the end of the weekend walkthrough. We talked about all the teams now, talked about all the standout players and stuff. It's been almost half an hour this recording, so I think it's time to end it. But please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I'm going to keep up doing the usual videos for the end of the season as well, and then in the off season we have a lot of fun content coming up as well, so stay tuned for that. But this has been the weekend walkthrough. My name is Matthias again, and we're out. Bye.